Hi, I'm Max Stossel, and I'm a poet. But wait, I know what you're thinking. What? This is a poetry special? Get me out of here. But before you go, when I first met poetry, we did not get along. I was in high school, and Mrs. freaking Edelstein assigned all this complexity to ADD dyslexic me, this endless slew of metaphors I didn't know what stood for. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and I wanted to go home and play video games. But for me, these rhymes and rhythms, these poems, they're just a vehicle to deliver something to you that I love and I want you to have. This show about seeing through different eyes to remember what we truly are. And I'd love if we could do this in person, to share this live where I can feel the essence of each message land in your presence, and it's COVID. So we're gonna do it through a screen. And because it's COVID, they let us use this cathedral, which we never would have been able to afford. But we asked, and this lovely woman who manages the theater, she thought about it for a second and then went, fuck it, it's art.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Max Stossel.
So I want to tell you a story about this time I was running late trying to catch a train. And I could hear it coming. And in New York, we have two kinds of subway turnstiles. We have the ones down here and the big, thick bars up here. New Yorkers will know that the insufficient fare beep and the go beep of the Metro card are the same beep. So if you're running at full speed through one of those big, thick turnstiles and you don't have money on your Metro card, run, 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 swipe, beep, it does not go, and I got clocked in the head. And for a few moments, I completely lost my sense of reality. And this stuck with me resoundingly, how my thoughts could be restructured if my brain just moved around a bit. The difference was astounding in how I dealt with my surroundings. And now, I don't remember where I'm going with this. My head is pounding. Maybe my brain just got moved from where it's supposed to be. Or maybe it was stuck and my stupidity let it get knocked free. Maybe the world was locked, and that was a hard, blunt, metal key that opened up a door to a cognitive divinity, a childlike virginity to a blissful infinity of life without the notions that were previously instilled in me. Maybe there is no proper state of mind. Maybe this concussed one is just fine. Between a sober and a warped existence, some would choose mine. Others would politely decline, especially those who live towing the line, sticking close to the realities they've defined, putting their heads down and continuing the grind. But I want to take this moment in time to wash the red pill down with a splash of wine and leave normal behind. To set in motion the dangerous notion that all we think we know is nature's poison. That we need to escape our brain's slow erosion in order to feel explosions of emotion, in order to find the reasons we were chosen to be paired to the vessels God gently placed our souls in, to summon the passion it takes to move oceans. Let's be open to the idea that living as if we know absolutely nothing is worth something. That maybe that guy on the L train singing shirtless who's forgotten the words to each and every single verse should be laughing at us. Maybe if we look past all the insanity on the surface, we'll find substance at his core that is imperfectly perfect. Maybe what seems crazy is his soul's very emergence from the depths of his heart as it's pouring wide open, his jumbled song, the one thing of which he is certain, and belting it out fulfills his life's very purpose. I mean, just look at the smile on his face. Yeah, he might be high as a motherfucker. His brain on some other druthers, neurons firing every which way like Jack Bauer's blown his cover. But who's to say that his world wasn't smothered, that his truth in this moment isn't presently uncovered, that he wasn't just enlightened by the new perspective he's discovered? Who's to say the baseline should be defined by what's perceived by you and I? Why not what's going on in the mind of this guy? What the majority experiences could have surely gone awry. Mob mentalities have historically led to genocide. Some of the Nazis just complied with party lines and every day gave a routine old Heil.
So if all we know is nature's poison, then let's get the anti-venom coursing through our cerebellum. Let's drink in the unknown's bittersweet serum, let it flow through our broken minds and let it repair them. And yeah, it might help to start with a quick drink of cactus, a mushroom, some green, or a little white tablet to help get outside ourselves and recognize the magic. It doesn't require a chemically altered state of mind, just an openness to the undefined, a smile in the darkest of times, a wink at the blind, a journey to climb up the steepest alpine for no other reason than to be closer to the sky, a well thought out buy for 12 cents on the dime, a round of applause for what some call a crime, a step outside life's imaginary lines to which we so strictly and closely abide, to leave all we think we might know behind and give our God-given insanity a try.
So one of my favorite insane thinkers is my dog, Luca. Luca has some of my favorite eyes in the world to look through. And those of you who have or love dogs, I wonder if you ever imagine what it's like to be inside of your dog's head. Because I spend a disproportionate amount of time trying to understand what Luca is thinking. And we have this little routine. I put on his leash, and he sticks his little nose in the door and kind of looks up at me to open the door. And that's the last thing he needs me for, because once we're in the park, everything's shifted. I see blades of grass, he smells particles lifted, a slight breeze and new recipes have been gifted to Luca's nose. First we walk off the grass, where he moves pretty fast, no distractions of nature to cross in our path. But the very moment he realizes that, I feel my arm jolt as we've stopped in our tracks. There's smells over there, Max. We need to go back. There's some of a rabbit a wolf has attacked, and if you don't pull me away like that, imagine the taste that we could extract. Luca, it smells completely unbearable. No, don't eat. What is that, a meat hairball? You're gonna feel just completely terrible and throw up wherever you're physically able. Max, are you crazy? There's so much here to love. Look, just try the bottom half of this dead dove. Don't be afraid of later throwing up. It's just what happens when we experience too much. If it's not coming out, you're not eating enough. I turn my head for a moment and he's chewing on something. But I smile as I watch his jaws readjusting without the slightest idea of what's in his mouth rustling. His eyes meet mine with a look less than trusting. It's okay, Luca, I'm not gonna take it away. You can have your garbage treat today. I've got a weakness for that face. I don't know what to say. Max! Stop everything, there's a dog. You see, there's a dog, it's a dog. It's okay, Luca, no need to freak out. Freak out, Max, what are you talking about? This is one of my kind, a fellow canine. Need to see what happens when his eyes meet mine, to feel the result when our souls collide. Can you just not try to attack him, okay? He's so much bigger than you anyway, and I never know if you want to fight, fuck, or play. Max, there's such a thin line between fight, fuck, and play. You humans pretend that they're miles away. Let's just smell wherever he smells the most and we'll be on our way. We make our way home. He curls up next to me, turns into a ball with his head by my knee. If I rest my head here, Max, I know you won't leave, and I can go to sleep content and happy. At the end of the day, I just want you to see that nothing matters more to me than family. Luca and I have been having some interesting political conversations recently. He's all over the place. He's a little bit left, he's a little bit right. He had this really traumatic genital surgery when he was younger, and he's convinced that's what abortion is. And so he leans to the right on that, thinks that should be illegal. And he's not really into sharing his food or toys with anybody, so he leans to the right on that one as well. But he feels like he should be able to hump men, women, stuffed animals, wherever and whenever he pleases. And let's be honest, that feels left to me. And he is not into being separated from family at the border or otherwise. So he leans to the left on that as well. But he can't vote. He's a dog. And the sad truth is he's not going to make it to 18. But if you think that's sad, we're about to talk about politics. And I tell you, when I look at where this country is at today, more than about whoever's in charge, what makes me so sad is what it's done to us. That for the first time in history, we actually have the opportunity to fix so much of what is broken and has been broken for so long. But we just hate each other so much that we can't actually do anything. We can't actually solve anything. We lose sight of the people that we care about because we're so lost in the fight, lost looking through those eyes of hatred. It's like, you know that point in a fight with a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, or wife where it's no longer about whatever it was about, and you just want to punch every word that comes out of their mouth? That's where our country's at right now. And I'm afraid we're too busy bickering to fix much of anything, too concerned with being right to do what's right, that we're too busy calling each other names to acknowledge each other's suffering. And I know this is coming from a white man who could not possibly understand what it's like to be discriminated against. For every word, action, and glance to be influenced by the color of my skin, to have generations of discrimination riddled in every inch of the system that we live in. And I know this is coming from a New York City kid who couldn't possibly know a thing about how the rest of America lives, about living in a town that's been turned upside down by so many years of the same establishment polishing their crowns, about having your livelihood turned inside out while the media laughs, about how those racist, sexist, ignorant clowns are dragging our country's culture down. I couldn't possibly understand how infuriating it is to feel like second-class citizens living in a land that doesn't care about them. But I do know a thing or two about changing people's minds. And I think you'd be hard-pressed to find anyone convinced of anything by being patronized and dehumanized. You might be able to make somebody quiet down and toe a line. But all you're doing deep inside is feeding the beast that waits and lies until it has the chance to sink its teeth between your eyes. I'm scared we don't actually care about each other, that you just want to impose your views on those who don't agree with you. I'm scared that in a time where our realities are defined by algorithms that are personalized, we won't take the time to leave what we believe behind. I'm scared that it's become so easy to share. We've forgotten how to listen, that we care more about winning than listening, when the only path to victory for anyone is listening. If victory isn't conquering, but reconciling differences, and victory isn't conquering, it's reconciling differences. I'm scared it's become so easy to instigate our animal brains with rhetoric and headlines that sound insane, that there's too much profit to be made and power to be gained from media or politicians to do anything but fan these flames. So I'm afraid we've approached this point of rage where the fight itself is all-consuming. And to the right side, the left side is the wrong side of everything. And to the left side, the right side is the wrong side of everything, when honestly, when was the last time any of us was right about everything? Underneath the kicks and screams, we all want peace. But that train has left, right? Now we've got some angry bodies marching in the streets like left, 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 right, left. Feels like the left feels a sense of righteousness and wants to right the right, while the right thinks the left forgot why our founding fathers right those rights, right? Religious right trying to guide the left towards the Lord's white light, while the left wonders how the right can sleep at night. But hey, there's no convincing a man of God he doesn't know what's right, right? If only they could be exposed to city life, right? Where cultures intertwine in a bit more harmony while we leave human beings freezing in the streets like they don't deserve a place to eat or sleep, right? But how can those racist, sexist hicks be so naive, right? And how disconnected can those leftists fricking be, right? And could someone please tell me, like, what do we actually accomplish as we fight? Can we stop swinging and address the gaping bleeds, eh? When our back's against the ropes and the world we've come to know is fading to the distance as our eyes are forced to close, we have this opportunity to count to 10. This time to stop and breathe again. A brief moment of peace again. Maybe we could breathe it in. And remember then that as two boxers get too close to hit each other, they hug each other. And not because they love each other, but because when two people get too close, it becomes too hard to strike each other. It's hard not to smell the humanity on one another. It is confusing to see our reflection in our enemy's eyes. helps us start to recognize where our actions might be misaligned with these identities that we've defined. When we let the fight take us over, we become unjust in our fight for justice. It's just this fight till someone's left bloodless. We create imbalance in our fight for equality. We see quality only where we want to see. We silence each other in our fight to be heard, as though beliefs could be changed by censoring each other's words. You know that point in a fight with a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, or wife where it's no longer about whatever it was about, and you just want to punch every word that comes out of their mouth? It's where our country's at right now. And I'm afraid that we'll keep fighting right up until there's nothing left. But we got this great piece of land together. We got kids together. Maybe we can try and hear each other out. I wrote that in 2015. And I don't know how much better we've gotten on that one. But enough about politics. Let's shake that out a little bit. You, yes, you. I can't actually see you, but I would love it if you would take 2 deep breaths with me. In and out. One more time. In and let it out with a sound. I want to tell you a story about my barber, who's an incredible man. And he has 3 master's degrees, one in cosmetology, one in divinity, and one in theater. And he was actually on the way to becoming a preacher, but as a gay man, he decided to take a different route. And one of the reasons he cuts hair is because it allows him this one-on-one time to deliver his sermons. And I think the world would be a better place if more of us could see through his eyes. Because my barber really is a preacher. Gives me lessons through the mirror. He spouts wisdom like a fountain that makes life a little clearer. Last time, he told me he was the Alka-Seltzer, witnessing his self dissolve into the world around him, knowing that's the only legacy he'd ever truly leave. As the pieces of his being dissolve into the existential sea, an ocean of souls, the witness observing the pieces of his self that help others to grow as he lets his ideas of whatever self is go. That's a direct quote. But my barber, he's a realist. His ideals are the idealist, but he's grounded in reality. Last time he said to me, who could live and actually be that witness all the time? Like who could watch their parents die and stand to only be the eyes witnessing life's tragic processes as they simply pass us by? And I reply, only those who lie. Maybe the assholes. I joke. I expect a laugh, but no, he lets my crass avoidance go and gently brings us back to flow as he smiles and makes it known that no, Max, even the assholes get chapped. And assholes know better than most where bullshit comes and goes. We talk of love and loss and shaking off the scars that lovers leave with us. And he reminds me, greater love is pouring in from up above, that it's on us to open up to all that is awaiting us. Reminds me that in our 20s, we tend to confound love and need. And when the ones we love do leave, we look on them as though they're thieves. I feel this wisdom deeply. The thief who stole the part of me entwined in our dependency, who left this hole in my identity. You are whole, he assures me. There's a gift she leaves as she leaves. By robbing you of her loving, she's showing you the Alka-Seltzer. That even when your heart has nothing left to bleed, your eyes in tears too hurt to breathe, there's truth beneath the pain. You see you're whole beyond the hole she leaves. My barber is a man of God. This fact I found a little odd, as every Sunday he was taught he'd burn in hell for who he loved. He was conflicted by that faith. By the text that earned his place in fire for eternity, I see this tear drop down his face. He can't help but feel the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, and yet the peace that haunts him most is his sacred, very own love for his fellow man. And I just want to reach out my hand and help him understand that in all of God's infinite plans, there's not a single one of them where he's not heaven destined. And so through the mirror, I look him in the eye. And though right is left and left is right, we connect in this reflective light. Our souls shine bright. His holy light shines right through the mirror. Sometimes I wonder if God himself is speaking in my ear. If God himself is cutting my hair. If I'm looking at God through the mirror. And then I imagine how the world would look if every single person could recognize the way we should that God is in the mirror. It can be easier to see divinity in others, much harder to discover that it's God who's hiding under all this skin. We think of God as perfection, but the one who created everything created imperfection. There's not a single emotion that isn't him. And so through the mirror, I look him in the eye. And mirrors have delays in time, reflections milliseconds behind, as light projects this false divide that I'm not you, that you're not I. And that's the work. To live our lives embracing that connection, right? To see beyond elusive sight, to look inside and recognize the Alka-Seltzer. There's this play he loves to quote in which an angel shows this woman moments from her own past. And as they look on at her life instead of back, as they look on instead of back, the woman to the angel, she asks, do they know? Do they know? Does anyone ever truly realize life as they live it? The breadth and depth of this beautiful existence present with us in every minute.
No.
The angel replies. The saints and sages, maybe they do some, but never in all of its magnificence. The tragedy lies in the rift between what we perceive and all that is. This constant choice we make of finite over infinite, that we refuse to accept the fullness and completeness of this gift. It's a lot to take in for a haircut. I don't know if I'm ready, I tell him. And he smiles and reminds me the jump from not ready to ready is just a thought away. And we can make it any day. Okay, Max, you can get up to pay whenever you're ready. He holds up another mirror behind my head to help me see this part of me I rarely get to see. How does it all look? He asks. I've never been a particularly religious person. The closest thing that I felt to God or a higher power until recently, well, actually one was psychedelics, which I highly recommend. Oh my God, please try psychedelics. If you take one thing away from this show, just please try psychedelics in a safe space with people you trust, do your research, but please try psychedelics. I'm getting sidetracked. The other is through writing. And not always. Sometimes I'll sit at the page for hours and nothing good will come out and I'll get frustrated. And other times, I'll feel a chill up the back of my spine, and it'll truly just feel like I'm getting hit with words and trying to catch them and put them on the page. And this was something that happened to me as I was coming out of therapy. It's New York, there's no applause for therapy. I'm just kidding, there's nobody here. I was coming out of therapy, and I saw a traffic light change from red to green. And I got hit with a love poem about circles. And I couldn't have told you who this was about, or why these are the words that came, but these are the ones that did. Baby, you're my circle. And I know those aren't the words any girl grows up dying to hear, but my dear, if you'll lend me an ear, I'll try and be a little more clear. You see, a circle is perfect. And you're my start and my finale, both loops of my infinity, and when you walk by, my world spins 360 degrees. And I'm circle without you. Nothing but emptiness, absolute zero, without any purpose. Time dribbles on, but I become worthless. Women of all shapes and sizes hardly scratch the surface. They are not circles. Not to me. And when we come full circle and get back to where we've started, we haven't just gone in circles. We've rolled along the path of our destiny. You stay right here next to me and show me how versatile and flexible circles can be. You see, they say about circles, what goes around comes around, but our love goes around and around and around. See, my love for you is around infinite. If I'm rounding down, your smile turns my frown upside down. And when combined with your shine, our mouths gently collide. I brush the hair from your face so your eyes meet mine. Throw your arms round my neck and rest them behind, and I'll bask inside your circle. My love for you knows no bounds, from the moon to the sun, but the long way around. My queen, let's get you a circular crown, short enough that it won't knock your halo down. I will always come running, faster than sound, to lift every inch of you up off the ground. So you're my circle. Circle I want to circle back to, when you are old, wrinkled, and have big dark circles under your eyes, that I want to extend the circle of life with, to wipe blue circles away in hard times, and cry those circles of joy with you in the good. Put your hand in mine so my cheeks flush with red circles, and hear me from the bottom of my heart when I say you're my circle. Breakups didn't used to be this hard. It didn't used to be so easy to see what was going on in her world. Or more accurately, one micro glimpse every day or two or three, captured on a 4-inch screen, which means absolutely nothing in terms of how she's really doing. But she's deemed this moment worthy to be shared with the entirety of her friends, family, strangers, vague acquaintances, and also me. We used to communicate constantly. If something happened in her life, I'd see absolutely everything she'd share with me. But now, we've come to agree that our communication leads to too much difficulty as we try to be free from such dependency on one another. I still feel the urge to reach out extremely frequently, but I resist, as we've agreed that space is what's long-term healthy. So now this 15-second story is the only she I get to see, my only glimpse to her reality, and I am completely addicted. My pull to this already addictive technology, now magnified 1,000,000 times what it used to be. I find myself searching for anything share-worthy, just so I can try and see those little hearts next to her name, the only ones that she's still allowed to send to me. Our only way of communicating now is publicly. Anything I say to her, I say to everybody, and that is so deeply complicated. Now I get to select the version of me she gets. I can sculpt the man I want her to see. I can sculpt regret or jealousy, or I could sculpt none of these. Just turn it all off and help her find some peace. When it's all you have left, the fall from lover to follower, it's a hard fall. From absolutely everything to nothing at all. From just the two of us to a fly on the wall. From the feast of your entirety to begging for morsels. From the center of your world to one more like, one more view, seen by God knows who else who. But now that this is the only view I get of you, my only window left into your world, can't keep myself away. My imagination springs into play. Where is she? What's she doing without me? How's she doing without me? Who the fuck is he? Oh, it's her cousin. But are they involved romantically? Max, stop it. You're being crazy. But maybe, Max, from honest communication to this, it's not quite silence, but it's maybe even less. Trying to piece together the real story from a sea of moments she's been crafting just as carefully, designed to make me throw a heart back too. Maybe she wants my heart back too. If she only knew how tightly her fingertips still grip its edges, it does not beat unless she lets it. I want to call, but I'll regret it. That wouldn't be long-term healthy. So I'll just post something for her to see. Pretend that's not long-term unhealthy. I'll contribute to this system of lies and jealousy, this Stepford version of reality we keep pretending is anything close to reality when it is nothing close to reality. But now it's the only place I still see you, and I can't help myself. I can't speak with you privately or directly, so I mask my words, like they're for everybody, when honestly, it's all for you. 2 taps from your thumb and I'm done. My brain shot full of serotonin, dopamine filled to the extremes. My dose of you is now complete. Well, not even close to complete, but of you I am so deplete that this tiny thing means everything. And when I'm not actively searching for glimpses of you, my phone is kind enough to bring them to me. Boop. Max, you have a new memory. Little thumbnail of your fucking face pops up on my screen. Photos, you must be confused. This is not a new memory. It's a memory I can't stop remembering. And a part of me really wants to stop remembering. But that part of me is flooded by these algorithmically timed reminders that insist upon reminding me that you're the most important thing to me. Congratulations, technology, you've done your job. You found the thing for me that's most engaging. I will now spend the next few hours scrolling through old pictures of us together and happy. I will refill my mind with those memories. I hope the penny someone just made is worth this form of brainwashing. I'm addicted to the connection, even if it's pain. And no matter what she says or does, my feeling is the same. She's smiling and it hurts that she's happy without me. And then it hurts because I also want her to be. There's the part of me that loves the hurt it all gives me. So much more connected than feeling nothing would be. So turning off these reminders feels completely crazy. How could I willingly give up the last remaining piece? The pain is the last thing that remains, and it's so much better than nothing. So I'll just keep checking, keep refreshing, keep clutching to the only thing I have left. I know that likes are not love, and I don't know how to stop when they remind me of what was. It's been years, I'm fine. Love, it's all there is. But it's not always a fairy tale. And actually, I don't even think the fairy tales are fairy tales. We're just not hearing the whole story there. Like, you trying to tell me that Sleeping Beauty, after she gets kissed by Prince Philip, or whatever his name is, that they just live happily ever after? I'm not buying it. I think we're just not seeing the behind the scenes. We're not seeing that fight where she comes home one day and it's like, why am I angry, Philip? Why am I angry? Because my friends think I should leave your ass because I was unconscious for our first kiss and I'm having trouble believing that was the first time you've ever done that. We don't get the best messages exactly out of Hollywood about love and consent. And it's easy for me to look at the Me Too movement, look at a guy like Harvey Weinstein and say, he's a monster and I'm great because I'm not like him. It's much harder for me to look inward and think, how might I be a part of this too? And one thing that's brought to light for me was the inherent strength difference between men and women that almost always exists in new interactions. And I was thinking about that, and I asked some of my female friends, hey, have you ever been hit on in a way that wasn't explicitly aggressive, but just like kind of made you feel unsafe? And they sort of rolled their eyes and said, what, this week? Yeah, that happens all the time. And I hadn't really thought about it. And I thought, how can I help myself and other men see the world through those eyes? And I realized that if aliens invaded, and they were huge and super sexually into us dudes, then we might know what it's like to be physically desired by something so much bigger and stronger than us. And look, I still want aliens in my life. I want them there in a big way. I just might not want to have sex with them all the time. Some of the time, but not all the time. And I feel like I see men mistreating women all the time. But sometimes I'm not sure where's the line, where it's nice for me to try and help this woman say goodbye to this well-intentioned, overbearing guy. And he's not assaulting her. It's just one drink. It's just words. Just a touch on her back, make that her lower back. He just didn't have to sit so close to her. She's just a little nervous. Sometimes I'm not sure if he's aware he's making her uncomfortable, or if he just cares more about the tiny chance of intercourse than how it makes her feel. Of course, he knows he'd never do anything to harm her. He knows he's a nice tiger. He'll just be assertive like he read online that women like, but she doesn't know what he will or won't do. If he's kind or kind of violent, and she's heard horror stories, maybe even lived through a few. So she doesn't know if he's gonna leave her alone or harm her, wishing she had body armor as he puts his arm around her, and she's not actively pushing him off, but clearly something is off. She's not into this advance at all, but it's safer to smile and tolerate and laugh than it is to tell him off. In any new encounter, there's this imbalance of power, and at the root, there's this truth that as men, we tend to be physically stronger than you. If we wanted to hurt you, we could do, and there might be justice later I'll be brought to, but me going to jail later doesn't protect you in this moment. There's me, and there's you, and there's no telling what I'll do if you don't do what I want you to. That's some unsettling shit. And no, we're not owed anything for not exercising our physical dominance. We're just being assholes if we make anybody feel like this. So imagine aliens came down from the sky, weighing in at 310 and standing 6'9" and super chill most of the time. And let's say they're into guys. But we only want aliens some of the time. They're really aggressive and get up inside and shoot out this nasty alien slime. And when they come on to us, it's pretty obvious. They've only got like one thing on their mind, and while we might want them to stop freaking touching us, we think they'll stop bothering us after a while. They'll give up after a minute of trying. We could just end this nonsense outright. Tell these overbearing aliens we don't like being talked to like that, touched like that, made feel like that, push them aside. I mean, after all, most are really nice guys. They'd be upset but decide to respect we rejected them, and then eventually swallow their pride. But like 1 in every 100 times, when they get angry, things get wild. So we have to decide if we want to risk angering this giant that could do some damage if it desired. It's probably better to smile and laugh than risk all that. It's safer to feed the alien lies. But then again, if we didn't want it, we shouldn't have worn green. Or drank so much. I mean, you know how those aliens can be. Aliens will be aliens, see, and we're running around with our shirts off. It's obscene. We totally had it coming. No way. And no way the story would be told that way if it were aliens and us guys. The responsibility clearly lies with the big scary creatures trying to put probes in our behinds. That one ends with a butt joke, thank you. When I shared that poem with my ex-girlfriend, I was all proud. Hey, look, I get it. And she looks at me and she goes, you do realize when we first met, we were in upstate New York, and you asked me to abandon the group and go for a walk alone in the woods at night with you, right? And I had not realized that. Not claiming to have it all figured out here, but I think the world becomes a better place when we can help women feel safe. And so for this next poem, please excuse the quality of the footage. but we needed to show you a time when my mom was in the audience to give you the full realness and awkwardness of this experience.
And so I've been dreading this next part for the entire evening because my mom is here. If we clap it up for my mom, please. Mom, please remember all that clapping because I'm about to do an extremely graphic poem about porn. So I would like to think that we get sort of models, and some of us do, and in some way we do, get models of how to behave in the world from our parents. I also personally took quite a lot in from media, and not just porn, but it's not the only thing I watched as a child. But you know, I'm 10, 11 years old, just starting to like girls, and then I'm watching things like Friends, and I'm saying, ooh, like, okay, Joey is the one who gets all the girls, I guess I'm supposed to act like that around girls. I really feel more like a Chandler, and he ends up with Monica, and that seems okay, but ultimately everybody else makes fun of him for how he is around women, and I don't like that. And then they're all obsessed with this sex thing. What is this sex thing? And not just on Friends, in all movies and all TV shows, all of these men seem to have this penultimate goal of this sex thing and achieving this sex thing. And unfortunately, I turned to the internet to answer some of that question. And I have had to unlearn so much of what I have learned. And unfortunately, I think particularly with younger people now, I think this is becoming more and more of the norm. In that I learned about sex from a variety of porn sites. That's the way 12-year-old Max learned what girls like. I typed in each variation of boobs.com I could think of. This was a problem later solved through the invention of Pornhub. A friend recommends with a big fat grin, feels like more of a man because of where he's been. Remember, this is pre-Google and Jeeves had kids. So, that night, I ran home to fire up my dial-up. You've got mail. Mm-hmm. I don't care. My adolescent boner's tucked into the waistband of my underwear. And there are limitless women and their pussies are swimming at the thought of having penises shoved recklessly in them. I'm like, www.pornhub.com. Mom, I'm so sorry. And suddenly, I'm seeing everything that's trending. Gangbangs, cum shots, rear-ending, never-ending. The breadth of my selection as intense as my erection. Holy shit, give me a second to turn off parental detection. It's hilarious they tried to put it up there in the first place. First base, second base, third base, fourth base, fifth base, sixth base, seventh base. Women seem to love being treated like objects, though this is something to which we rationally object with even the slightest mix of common sense and innocence. But when 12-year-old eyes watch enough of this belligerence, it starts to seep into our sexual subconscious, mixing my primal desires to pounce on these lionesses as they part the lips of their blushing vaginas with genuine young curiosity of what this all means. All these men I've seen in movies and on TV, they're all obsessed with this very same thing. And according to porn, that's... It's women on their knees begging for our seed. It's using the female body for our whims, our desires, our needs. All these women tricked into nudity so easily and then discarded so casually. It seems like men are meant to dominate this lesser species. It's what porn taught me being a man means. It's what porn taught me being good in bed means. Porn planted this deeply misguided lie in me. And look, maybe pornography can help us live out fantasies and explore our spectrum of sexuality, but personally, it was more education than it should have been. And for that, I've got to take responsibility. But think about how easy it was for me to pop up in my laptop screen and watch all these societally picture-perfect women moan and scream as they look back at me. And for all practical purposes, it was me, since I was into POV. That's where the camera sees what I would see. And God knows I was getting no real pussy at age 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So due to what was strictly availability, porn became my sexual reality. And unfortunately, I don't think my story is an anomaly. I didn't learn physical intimacy was a possibility until my mid-20s. Making love was just fucking stripped of its masculinity. I was using women as vessels for masturbating, most of whom were so used to being treated without dignity. To avoid bruising my ego, they wouldn't bother telling me. They'd just endure my incompetency. And anyone out there rolling your eyes at me, as honestly I totally would have been, I ask you to explore the possibility that maybe the sex we learn from porn in American society is actually, when applied to reality, usually just really bad sex. Is it fun to smack some ass and unleash our dominance? Hell yes. But we've learned a measly portion of what sex can express, more or less the junk food of our consciousness. I got to trade porn for watching the woman I love dance so freely on top of me, it may be the only time I ever truly understood femininity. Sex is fun, but there is jaw-dropping, soul-wrenching beauty when it's mixed with vulnerability, creativity, and intimacy. If you had told me in college how hot breathing with our clothes on could be, I would have laughed you off heartily. But luckily, I met a woman stronger than I would have been if I were she, to slow me down and feel the heat of our breath. Move up and down and in and out through our chests. To show me how beautiful it can be when love and sex aren't two separate things. That I'd been trying to do life's greatest puzzle with just one very basic piece. Showed me the difference between ecstasy and crotch sneeze. I had gotten great at crotch sneeze. How far away from where I want to be pornography had taken me. Turns out you don't have to pretend to already know all the answers to the female body. Turns out they're all unique. And it's okay to ask, okay to learn, okay to breathe. Waiting on the other side of porn for me was just a glimpse of this limitless magnificence. Take a break. Take a chance. Be a man. It's worth exploring. Thank you.
I've got one more that I want to share with you. And of all the different eyes that we've looked through, all these different perspectives, I think this might be my favorite. Because there is so much beauty, so much magic, so much opportunity under our noses all the time, even in the darkest of times. And it's so hard to live into. It's so hard to notice. But there's so much beauty, there's so much. And this is a poem that hit me kind of like that circle poem did. So I was waiting for the train at West 4th Street. And I'm staring into the tunnel, because that's what we do, we stare into the tunnel. And the train's not coming. It's just not coming. We live here now, the train is not coming. And it's just getting hot and sweaty and miserable. This is back when people gathered in the subway. And I'm just getting so upset. But I took a deep breath and walked over to the edge and started trying to make eye contact with people. New Yorkers, not into eye contact. But I had this realization that we stand an army of urban soldiers waiting for the train. Our feet teeter onto the restricted yellow paint, contorting our bodies into cranes to look past the backs of human beings in search of this speeding metal thing. When it reaches the station, we'll step inside and it will take us to our destination. But we hardly wait with patience. You should see the frustration on our faces. How dare it not have arrived at this place yet? We won't sit complacent. We demand cooperation from the MTA agent with pure depression on his face, who just so happens to be powerless in his current situation. What we don't see is the tragedy at play, as the love of each of our lives is standing just an arm's length away. We won't notice today. We see our soulmate as in the way of the beam of light we hope will display, indicating our train is not 6 but 5 seconds away. If we would only turn and face each other, we might catch eyes, and to our surprise, the anguish of waiting might subside. We might not be so terrified of being late to work this time, our jobs that make us sigh and cry. We might stop and reanalyze. We might, I hope, even decide that we could make better use of our time. We could enjoy this mariachi band. Come take my hand and let's pretend these fluorescents are the moon and this grimy subway floor the sand. Let's just dance. Before we stand clear of closing doors, let's take a second, break the norm. Let's fall into each other's arms and dance across the whole platform. Let's lose ourselves as we move ourselves in tango salsa blues. Our shells come off, reveal two humans soothed by having stepped into the groove of subway love. So when that train finally does come, we'll get on, my dear, as one and having so much fucking fun. We won't stop dancing till we're done, until our feet are red as plums and we've laughed so hard our cheeks are numb. And having felt the energy radiating off of you and me, our fellow passengers will be ready and psyched to heartfully join the choreography. The whole train car will bounce with glee. We'll miss our stops physically, but won't miss them, if you know what I mean. And then we'll finally take our seats in Brighton Beach, Jamaica, Queens, the Rockaways, or wherever the hell we may be. And you'll rest your tired little head on me. And our smiles, they'll beam as we look back on how eagerly we awaited this train to take us away from exactly where we were supposed to be. You're all exactly where you're supposed to be. Thank you, King's Theater. It's been a dream.